thanks very much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've only really sort of had a quick chat with my brother, I think, by your email even or something like that. So I think hopefully he's filled you in on what we're doing and what the channel's about. And maybe
trying to do.
Maybe you've had a chance to watch a bit of it. I don't know,
I mean, I basically get it. I think I looked at some of the stuff he sent, so I understand what the format is, and
so it's good to have a chat, and obviously it's good to have a chat with somebody who's got a bit of a connection with us.
Yeah,
you know, all stemming from the.
Admittedly, it's a long while ago, but yeah. So,
what are you saying? Are you saying I'm old?
No, we are. You've aged better than what we have.
Yeah. I mean, you've got something coming on top of your head, haven't you? But never mind. Anyway, right. Yeah. So so really, it was just got a bit of an informal chat, really, and a bit of a catch up because. I mean, obviously, I knew you. I think, to be fair, I think I knew your brothers better than I knew you because you were more kind of, leaning towards my my sort of brothers. Although you're in between, weren't you? I think you're in between us and my brother. I think so because you're what 2-3 years older
than what?
Than us.
I don't know. I'm 56 and I turned 57 in November.
Yeah, so just a couple of years older. So I think you fell in between, like me and our brothers.
Right. My brother Aaron is like 2 years younger than me, so
I sort of know Aaron more. I think, and there's obviously Robert as well, isn't
there? Yeah. Robert is, I think, 5 years younger than me.
Yeah. So no, it's just nice to talk to somebody. Obviously, with all the stuff you've done over the years, but connection, and obviously. Your family also being kind of slightly responsible for Adam wanting to drive racing cars.
That's your fault. Thanks very much.
No, I mean, I remember, obviously I remember where we lived in Newport all that time. My dad built a house on my grandmother's, she had a small plot of land beside her, Cranberry Lane, and so we lived, when we were first there, we lived in the house next door, and then when my uncle died in around 1979, I should think, something like that, when I was first starting racing, then we all moved into the house that we lived in, for the next, Mum and Dad lived in for the next sort of 20 years.
Yeah, because I remember your uncle, especially with his cricket and that, because he was a good cricket, wasn't he?
He died very, very young.
Yeah,
my uncle Rob.
There's a bloke at the village actually.
Yeah, he had tongue cancer. I think he was in the chemical sales for pesticides and stuff. That was his job. So, I mean, he went out every day with pesticides and sprayed them on for the farmers and did all of that. And back in those days, it took nearly no precautions. And so, I'm sure that's what killed him nowadays. I mean, when people do that, they have hazmat suits on and all sorts if they even do it. But back then he was just breathing it in every day. So it was a shame.
Yeah, because our house back, because I was up the road from you, because you lived next to the Peterses, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And then we were up slightly more than halfway up where the primary school is now. So we're both on the same field backed onto our houses. And I can remember watching your dad and later on you riding your motorbikes up the back field and practicing.
Yeah, well, we were very good friends.
One day, you did it on your back wheel the whole way up. And me and my brother watching out the window, and I thought you were your dad. And my brother's gone, no, that's Kurt, and he's better than his dad. And then all sort of started that, and I was just flabbergasted. And then the fields were flat, and then there was the track at the top, and then there was another field above that, which was 7 foot above that field that backed onto our houses. And I remember being on that track and you coming back down the field and you literally just jumped across the track onto the other field. And we were just, as kids, we were just like, bloody hell. And you couldn't have been that much older, obviously, then. You must have still been sort of 15, 16, I don't know. But that was on a Kawasaki, so I don't know if that had aged you or not. What?
That'd be about right. 15 years old, 15, 16, exactly that. And I mean, I remember, because back in those days, I think the primary school was probably built because...
so I can remember playing cricket at primary school, and because you used to knock because Aaron was a good bowler. I can remember him bowling to you, and it was just before you left, I think, and you used to knock the thing for 6, and we think, bloody hell, and that was just in the practice nets sort of thing. So, sport's always sort of been there and roundabouts, I think, hasn't it? But
I mean, I really enjoyed all sports. Football, cricket, everything. I just, it came to that certain, like right around that time, then I stopped playing football and cricket and stuff and just concentrated on racing motocross. Yeah. But, I mean, before that, I did everything. I mean, right around that time that you're talking about was when they built the M11.
Yeah.
And, we could pretty much ride everywhere, and there was all kinds of tracks when they were building that. I remember that clearly.
We had all mopeds and things like that. And actually, your dad was responsible for my first motocross bike. It was only a 50, but it was a Honda, and we got it through Freddie Mays in Cambridge.
Right.
His dad put us on with him, and we got it dirt cheap, basically. And that was then that I just kept falling. I was just hopeless. I think in hindsight, it should have probably been an 80cc, and I'd have probably been better. It'd been better for me, but because it was only 50, it was bloody awful. And I was just continually falling off it, hurting myself. And Dad said, "Look, I just don't think too well."
You got to do more pairs of jeans.
Yeah,
gallons of petrol.
Yeah, and then Mum sitting in a boiling hot salt bath one night because I'd got all bloody things in my leg. And that's sort of more or less when I sort of got onto the car thing, really, because it's motorbikes to start off with. Obviously, your dad, Barry Sheen, Steve Parrish were the sort of my sort of heroes as a lad, really. I simply remember we watching your dad on Grandstand or World of Sports, winning the World Championship. I seem to remember I'm probably wrong, but I can remember him going under some trees behind a chap, and then I think when he come from under the trees, he was actually in the lead. I don't know how that's right or wrong or not. I can't remember. I just seem to have a memory of it. But to have these two blokes doing what they were doing, and they were on telly in our village, it was like, wow, it was something quite special. And then obviously later on we watched you in the moto and everything, and it was something, yeah. So yes, awesome. You are indirectly responsible, you and your father, for me getting the petrol bug.
There's nothing better than wasting all your time and money on petrol. So it's great. Yeah. Except you can't get petrol in the UK at the moment. But.
No.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Getting better. But I was going to joke, because I was obviously doing a bit of homework and reading up on some bits and bobs to do with you. And I saw a comment where somebody had written, or I can't remember what it was on now, where they said about that you was a late bloomer because you didn't start until the age of 16. And I was reading it thinking, like, what was that deep? Because I mean, you see like 15 and 16-year-olds getting into and Formula One drivers at like 19 and stuff like that. But I don't remember back in that would be. It just seems an odd.
Yeah.
A late bloomer. I would have thought getting into it at the age of 15, 16, you was early doors.
No, there definitely was a late bloomer. Yeah, the like basically schoolboy motocross, schoolboy scrambling as it was called back then, started properly in the 70s, and most of the guys that I raced against, people like Dave Thorpe, they all started when they were 5-6 years old on 80cc bikes and that sort of stuff, and I didn't start until I was 14, nearly 15. So it was late. I mean, I still think back then it wasn't like it is today. I think today you got no chance of catching up if you started that late. Back then it wasn't quite that sophisticated, but I would definitely was late. But I also, I had a background, everything you've just been talking about playing in those fields and all of that stuff. It wasn't like I didn't have a background of it, and so I picked it up real quick. And so I didn't start racing till I was nearly 15, but I immediately, was at a high level, which wouldn't have been the case if I'd have, learned to ride a bike when I was 15. So, I mean, calling me a late bloomer, I was late to racing. I wasn't late to riding.
It was 500cc though straight away, wasn't it? It wasn't any other classes really, I don't think, was there?
Not in England, no. I mean, there obviously was 125 and 250, and I rode some British championships.
250, didn't you?
Later on, when it became more important. But I mean, back then, if you were English and you wanted to be a top level rider, you rode 500, and so I was already riding 500 when I was 17, which would be kind of unheard of now. But it was just the way the system was. It wasn't the same in every country. A lot of the other countries put more value on 250s and 125s, but we never did in England. We had one British Championship that was the main British Championship that was open to 250s and 500s, and the actual 125 and 250 championships were like support championships. So if you really wanted to win, you had to ride 500 straight away. So we all did.
It just seems like such a to me. It just seems such a powerful 500 bike. You're trying to get this bike round a dirt track.
See why you were so strong and everything.
Yes,
go on.
You know what I mean?
I
mean, surely going down into the 250s, it must have felt. Did it feel easier to get that bike round, or?
It was a little easier, but I mean, it's more intense riding a 250, and by then the 250s were like as powerful as those 500s that I started on, but a 500 became too powerful, and that was why the 250s took over. And I mean, now I did that race at Farleigh Castle a couple of weeks ago, and on a 500 two-stroke, and I mean those things are still vicious now, compared to a 450, a modern day 450 four-stroke. Like a 500 two-stroke is still a beast for a bike.
Because that was your first GP. Was it Farleigh Castle was your first GP win?
Yes, 1987. Yeah.
Because that was a good year for you, wasn't it? 87.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, that's when I really broke through World Championship. I started in 84, but then 85, I think I finished 8th. But then I broke my femur at the end of the year. And so 86 was kind of a bit of a down year. But then 87 was when I finished second and won my first GPs. And so that was, 87 was really the big breakthrough year.
What year was it you did your shoulder? Because you did your shoulder bad as well, didn't you? Didn't that stop you winning the world title, the shoulder injury? Or was that the femur injury?
No, I actually, the 92... 91, I was leading the World Championship by a long way, and then I broke my femur again.
I remember,
same femur. I had a shoulder injury when I was very young, which still is giving me jip again now. But it was the femur that stopped me from winning the championship that year, which just one of those things. Made a mistake. Motocross can be a bit brutal on the body.
Yeah.
Give you more jig if you were still over here.
I think California helping just a little bit with that, isn't
it? It definitely keeps the muscles lubricated with the
Yeah. So did you get much chance to come over and see Dad at all or not?
Yeah. Well, I say yes and no. So normally, yes. I mean, I've been working for the last 10 years on and off with Nitro Circus, and so normally once or twice a year I've been able to get to England because of that, and then I've been doing that Bet Motocross to Nations race, which gets me over. And so I mean normally up until COVID hit, I was normally getting back at least 2 or 3 times a year, and actually Mum and Dad spent every second winter, they spent like 2 or 3 months over here in California as well. And like Aaron and my son David and nephew Rob, they all came over at least once a year to go riding and stuff. So it was all normally we saw a lot of each other, to be honest, still until COVID hit. But then the time between last time I was in England until July this year was September 2019. So it was 2 years between seeing anybody with the COVID travel restrictions. So now I've been over twice in the last 2 months. So it's kind of more back to normal.
Did Aaron used to mechanic for you, though? Did he? Am I right in thinking that? Because he's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing mechanic. Absolutely amazing. Like he's so detail oriented and just so clever as well. That he's an amazing mechanic, and he was my mechanic from 86 until 92. And then after that, he went into the family business, which is located in Falmere.
Still buy steel off him now and again, so you'll be glad to hear that.
So it was good times. I mean, obviously traveling around the world with your brother and motocross racing full time, you can't beat it. It was just really, really fun times. And it's good now, like when I did that race at Farley the other week, and Aaron mechanics for me now, and we still spend ages getting the bikes ready and do all the work and still treat it pretty seriously. I've never lost the passion for trying to win. So even though we're old and senile now, we still try and win.
So do you enjoy it more now than you ever did, or not?
I guess I've always enjoyed it. It's just different now. And like now, obviously, there's a certain level of pressure to perform when you're racing full time. And, that sort of makes the enjoyment different. I really enjoyed, winning. I enjoyed the whole scene of riding. I used to really enjoy the races with less pressure. And, I was successful so much in my career that I had an awful lot of enjoyment. Since I've stopped racing full time, then every day's enjoyment. I love riding. I still go riding almost every day. Even when I'd finished racing full-time motocross. I mean, when I moved over here, even before I moved over here, I raced supermoto, basically professionally for 5 years over here, and then raced enduro cross for 3 years and won national titles over here. So, and since I've got really old, now I still do like the vet championships and everything over here. And, the passion has never dimmed.
No, it never. You stop doing it, but there's that little thing in the back of your head saying, well, I could just... And that's where I am at the moment with this mini build, you see. It's just the back of the head thinking, oh, yeah, need to lose a load of weight, but it's a bug.
You get to that point when when someone asks me now, am I ever going to stop racing? I say, I'm just too old to quit now. It's not worth it.
I have to remember that, because everyone says, oh, you're too old, you should give up now. Oh, really? At your age? Nah. Yeah. So is there anything you I mean, this is a standard question for you probably. Is there anything you do differently?
You know what? I don't think there is. And it is a bit, it's a question that I've been asked, and I find it difficult to answer because if I could take what I know now and, what I learned after missing out on the World Championship by a point and, always being close and not quite doing it, what I've learned since is to take each race as it comes. And, and that's what I do now. And so when I was winning those supermoto championships over here and the enduro cross, I never worried about points. I never looked at it, just went to each race trying to win. Whereas when I was racing full time, I was a bit of a points counter, and, I wouldn't take that last little bit of, risk or effort. I was settling, thinking, okay, well, at least I'm hanging in there and I'll get those points back next week, or, I still got the lead and that type of stuff. And so it mattered so much to me that, if I could go back, I'd try and change that mentality. But on the other hand, it probably also made me what I was, because it mattered so much and I worked so hard doing it. And, if it didn't matter that much, then who knows? So, I mean, it's, if there was things I'd change, there are only things I've learned through experience. But overall, I mean, I've led a charmed life. There's nothing else I can say. I basically just wake up every day and do something that I love doing. And so,
I mean, the list is impressive, though. There's Team GB, everything. I mean, there's so many things you could talk about, but the list is, you can't say you haven't achieved anything. It's just, I never really realised, until we sort of, looked into it a little bit. It is impressive. It's an impressive result.
It was year after year after year that I kept achieving, and that can go back to 1979, which is like whatever it is, 42 years ago, and to this present day. I mean, I'm still, I won the over 50s Vet World Championship last year, and it just, like I say, I don't know how I've been so lucky as to be able to wake up every day and just do what I love doing, and just had a great time doing it on a daily basis, and not many people can say that. So I mean, I've just been super blessed.
I mean, I guess one of your highlights was obviously in '94 when you was with the British team on the Motocross of Nations, and you won that and took that. Yeah. Or you broke the 13-year winning streak from America. And I guess that's why you've moved to California, because you're still apologising for it.
Keep rubbing it in,
all right? Much more the second. I'd still rub it in every chance I get. They had a reunion thing here just up the road a couple of weeks ago for the American team from 82 that started that streak. And I went over there just uninvited, just so I could rub in the fact that we ended it.
Yeah, it's nice.
And you touched on earlier as well the fact that you've now got your Kurt Nicoll's champion motocross vacations.
Motocross vacations.
What is that something you've got set up there for, like, people to turn up and I mean, get your plug in now, plug the place,
Yeah. So exactly how it works. I mean, I'm another, I obviously, when I stopped motocross full time, I worked at KTM and as first the motocross team manager, and then the head of the racing department worldwide, and then head of the race department here in the States. And so I have great relations with them. And so I'm lucky enough that they supply me with 12 brand new bikes every year. And, basically riders from all over the world, but especially from the UK, you just fly in and fly into California, and then I take the bikes out and the riders out to the tracks every day. And, we just have a hell of a time riding around, and it's heaven out here as far as motocross goes. Like, not only is the weather, idyllic the whole year round, especially in the winter time when it's cooler and nicer. And, the tracks are perfectly prepared. Where I live, there's 6 perfectly prepared tracks within an hour. And so, we go to a different track almost every day. And, it's just a great business. It's a happiness business because everyone that comes over has a great time, and, they're on holiday. And they get to ride every day.
You'd sort of give them some pointers and take, or is it?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't. Up until COVID hit, it was pure vacation, and I hadn't done hardly any coaching at all. I hadn't really thought about it that hard because I was busy doing this and I was enjoying it with the holidays and stuff. But then when COVID hit and they shut everything down, you couldn't travel. Since then, I started doing coaching for local riders here, specifically older riders. And I mean, 2 things. One, I'm amazed by how many people there are out there that want to learn how to ride better. And secondly, I really enjoyed doing it. So now, going going forward, now they're lifting the travel bans, then, I'll do a bit of a mixture. I'll still obviously do the vacations for people, but I think I will offer some coaching courses as well, just especially when it's not quite as busy with the holidays. I like to do one-on-one coaching. That's what I enjoy the most. Rather than big groups, I like to concentrate on one rider and, really dig into making things better.
Is there anyone, because I did a little bit of instructing for circuit racing, and there's some people you could tell instantly that they got it before they'd even turned a wheel or anything. Is there anybody that sort of stands out for you?
Are you referring to me?
No. You can't even swim, you sing. Is there anybody you thought that actually they're on it,
Yeah, I mean, you can tell straight away. You're absolutely right. I mean, when you've been in the game as long as I have, and I see over here, I see all of the top kids when they're coming up, like through amateurs and then into the pro ranks. And, you pretty much doesn't take long to see like that kid. I don't know how well you know the names now, but there's a kid called Jet Lawrence that just won the 250 national championship over here, and he's Australian, and so he was kind of under the radar. And the first time I saw him ride around a track, I think it was a track called Milestone that's actually closed down now, but I remember watching him ride, and immediately I saw him, I thought, oh my God, that kid is doing stuff which I'd never seen before. And sure enough, he went from coming over as a 15-year-old from Australia to winning a national championship within 2 years. So, I mean, you can see it straight away. I see a lot of good riders, but that kind of exceptional talent only comes around every now and again.
So you wouldn't be tempted to sort of go into management and manage them riders? You don't fancy that?
No, I did it. I mean, I was...
You did team management?
I was... Yeah.
Yeah.
Individuals,
No, it was the reason I got out of team management was more to do with the individuals than anything else. I was very effective as a team manager in the beginning when the riders were a similar age and I was younger. But I have to say, there's that generation gap I think is too much to be very effective with young riders. I can't imagine that I have anything in common with a 17 or 18-year-old supercross rider nowadays. So I have no interest. And I don't, to be honest, I did from, the age of 17 until my mid-40s, I traveled almost every week to races, and I never had a break. When I finished racing full time, I went straight into team management and then into, running race department. And so it wasn't until, 2009, 2010 that I wasn't traveling every week. And so there's no chance I would go back to do that again.
It's hard graft living out a suitcase. It's not working.
Yeah, it's different. And I mean, my dad did it until, he was FIM World Championship race director until his early 70s. Yeah. And he still loved it into his early 70s, but I fell out of love with traveling every weekend.
Well, takes it out of you, definitely. So what's your proudest moment, would you say?
Apart from,
obviously this interview.
Coming on in and
Couple of monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, again, there seems to have been so many, but I mean, the biggest moment, honestly, was that Motocross to Nations win in 1994. I mean, that was one, it broke that American streak. But I mean, England hadn't won it since the 60s. And so, it was kind of unexpected. And I would say that was like the biggest moment of my career. But I mean, honestly, proud moment. There's just so much over the years that I'm, really proud of everything that I managed to achieve. And, I remember clearly all the successes, and I've managed to completely black out every single bad race I ever had. So don't ask me about any of them because they don't exist anymore.
We like to that.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. People talk to me about races, and if they say, you know, I was at this race and you won, I can tell them exactly what happened at the start and all the way through the race. And if they say I was at that race when you finished 11th, I'll say I just don't remember being there, mate.
Weren't you the first father and son to win GPs?
Yes.
First ever father and son. That must have been a proud moment for Dad.
It definitely was. It was amazing. You know, it'd never been done up until then, and you know, we were the first. And then obviously when Stefan Everett started winning 100 GPs on top of his dad winning multiple, then they did. But I mean, yeah, we were the first. You can't take it away. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So when we were talking, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. I'll put you a little bit on the spot. Right? When we were talking to Steve Parrish, he was coming out with all sorts of things he got up to and all sorts of stories of mayhem.
We were talking about cheating.
But from what you've been saying, it sounds to me like you were a lot more serious with the actual, like, getting the job done, and not so much kind of like blowing up toilets and various types of things. I mean, are there any funny stories, or are you going to basically say leave it up to Steve Parrish? But,
No, I mean, I don't think I can hold a candle to Steve. He was probably on another level from me, but I mean,
still is.
Probably still is. I mean, I haven't seen Steve for a long while, but great bloke. But I mean, we had, I mean, a laundry list of wrecked rental cars. That was our, you know, major source of entertainment outside of the racing every week. And it's like, it wasn't just me. I mean, my brother was bad, but my dad was absolutely the world's worst. And so he taught us everything we knew. And I mean, I can remember the first World Championship race that I finished on the podium. We took the steering wheel off his rental car and threw it down a hill, which was real funny, but we couldn't find it. We genuinely could not find it. And so in the end, when we'd run out of time, he had to put a set of mole grips on the car in order to drive it back. But we hadn't finished, so we tipped it up onto his roof. He was in the car with who was the team manager at Kawasaki at the time, Alec Wright. And they were both upside down in this rental car with mole grips on the steering wheel. And they had to take it back to the rental place. But my dad had this amazing talent for absolutely wrecking things, wrecking hotels, wrecking rental cars, wrecking anything. And then he'd always complain, no matter what. He'd go in there and complain about it. And so he went into the rental car place and he said, I'm absolutely disgusted. We're driving along. I said, and the steering wheel's fallen off. And it's like we almost died, and I'm expecting to get this rental car for free. And so the rental car's got all dents in the roof. It's got no steering wheel, and they gave him a free rental and apologised to him.
I've had fun in rental cars. Getting pushed out of traffic lights and all sorts,
Yeah, we did the World Championship race at Glen Helen once, which is obviously a place which I know very well now, being just up the road. But there's like a floodplain wash, and there's only one road in, one road out, and so everyone was queued up, and you could see it was going to take us an hour to get out of the track. And so Dad decided that this like Toyota or whatever we had as a rental car, that he'd take it through this wash, and we probably got about a quarter of the way and then completely buried it in the sand, and had to go back and get a tractor and get the tractor to pull us out and pull us back onto the road.
Oh dear.
well, unless you
no, I can't think of anything else. Website for your championship vacations.
Yeah.
You got to try and remember it.
You got to try and remember it now.
Where you can find details. Yeah, so It's just championmx.com.
Yeah.
And we have a Instagram, Facebook, and all of that stuff as well. It's absolutely anyone that likes motocross and wants to have a week or two in the sunshine and really enjoy it.
Can people actually pay for private tuition or not separately?
Yes, they can now. Yes, I'm gonna do it like. There'll be only certain times. So, our busiest season for bike rentals is right around when Supercross happens over here in California, like January, February.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to offer the tuition sort of from the beginning of March next year. But it'll be the same thing. It'll be bike rental, accommodation and everything in, and then plus the tuition on top.
We put it in anyway, so... people can contact you.
Yeah, in the description underneath the video, we'll put all the links in it for us.
Perfect. Awesome.
No, just to say thanks for letting us.
Say yes. That's it. Thank you for that.
Spending the time talking to us. It's fantastic that we even do this nonsense now, where you're sitting in California and we're here and we're just talking away as a live. I mean, I think back in the 70s and stuff, it was like. You're getting an operator to put you through and then cut off by the satellite when it moves. So it's things that come on. But fantastic that we can do this now. And thanks very much.
Well, hopefully it'll give people a different perspective on, because they've all seen the normal sort of interviews. Hopefully it's just a tiny little bit different and gives a bit.
Yeah, this is definitely different because, we have a history that goes back way further than most anybody else, coming from the same village. It's amazing. It's kind of funny how things turn full circle. I actually drove through Newport last time I was there just to take a look. A lot of it still looks the same.
It does. And that's regrettably a lot of the people aren't there anymore, but it's still pretty much the same.
Well, next time you're over, we'll buy you a pint in a Hercules. Oh, no, we can't.
Don't care anymore.
No, never mind.
It'd have to be the White Horse.
I still remember where all the pubs are from our Christmases when we would take that piano around on the back of the truck and unload the piano and take it into the pubs and do this Christmas carols. So,
I remember that. No, good times. No, good times. All right, lovely. I appreciate that very much indeed.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.